Okay, so good morning. My name is Geraldine Logue, and some of you I was able to meet beforehand, and it was really very nice to get to know some of you and hear some of your stories a little bit ahead of time. And I'm the director of the ISU Retirees Association, and we're really glad that you're able to join us today. Just a quick note, like I had mentioned a little bit earlier, we're going to be recording this ceremony, so it can be placed on the ISU Retirees website for viewing at a later date. And we found that when we did this last year, people really liked it. When they couldn't get on with this right now, they could watch it later. FYI, right now on your screen, you can see your names, but when it records, your names will not be on the screens. So now I'd like to invite Jeff Johnson to say a few words.
Let me join Geraldine in saying good morning to all of you. I am here on campus here at Iowa State in Ames, Iowa. And for those of you who are unaware, I serve as the Talbot Endowed President and CEO of the Iowa State University Alumni Association. And again, I am honored to welcome all of you to this year's Memorial Day ceremony. I want to publicly thank the ISU Retirees Memorial Day Planning Committee for working with the staff of the Iowa State Alumni Association.
See any pictures?
To embrace this program and ensure its production every year. So thank you, colleagues. Finally, I want to salute Iowa State University for being the kind of employer and institution that remembers its employees and provides space and affirmation for programs like this. Remember, we are a public land-grant university honoring our loved ones like family. When I became a part of this family in 1999, this was one program that really impressed me about Iowa State University. My sentiments 23 years later is still one of admiration. So again, thank you for being a part of today's recognition ceremony, and we are honored to share this day with you. Thank you and have a great day. And thanks for allowing me to be a part.
Thank you, Jeff, and good morning, everyone. I'm Mary Lynn Damphorst, the 2021 to 22 past chair of the ISU Retirees Association Board of Directors. I bring you greetings and a warm welcome from the board and from Ames, Iowa. Since 1995, the Memorial Day services have been conducted by the ISU Retirees Association Board. The ceremony was originally conducted by ROTC at ISU. However, due to the Memorial Day holiday timing, it became increasingly difficult to expect students and faculty away from campus at that time to coordinate the event. Hearing that the ceremony would be discontinued, Irene Swanson, a longtime member of the ISU Women's Club and the Alumni Association, organized the 1995 Memorial Day service and became a leader of the ISU Retirees Association Memorial Day Committee, but took on the event after that. Though we no longer play taps and have a rifle team fire a salute, many of the features of the earlier services remain or will return after pandemic limitations end. We will post the interesting history of the service on our website. We're here today to honor Iowa State University faculty, staff, and spouses and partners who have died during the past 12 months. And we also include recognition of a few departed who were inadvertently missed in past ceremonies. We take time to remember and honor their lives and give thanks for their service and support of Iowa State University, as well as we'll be recognizing their families, friends, and communities. In pre-pandemic years, we held this event in person on ISU campus, most recently at the Alumni Center Ryman Ballroom. Last year was our first attempt to meet via electronic connection. Our Zoom ceremony went quite well. Because of the unpredictability of the COVID-19 virus variants, pandemic limits on crowd size allowed in the Ryman Ballroom, and the opportunity to include participants and audience from across the US, we decided to continue with a Zoom-only ceremony for this year. Optimistically, in the future, we may be able to have a hybrid ceremony with in-person and online connection. Please note that no later than June 6th, next week, the ISU Retirees Memorial Day website will be updated to include the recording of today's service and any additional submitted tributes. I do have a few reminders before we go on. Please make sure your microphone is muted now until the tribute component later in the ceremony, when we want everyone to be able to talk. If you would like to make a verbal tribute to your loved one, you may use the chat function at the bottom of your computer and send a note with your name on it to Geraldine Logue, who will call on you later in the program to give that tribute. All written tributes will be posted on the ISU Retirees Association website. If you have not submitted a written tribute but would like to, please send it by email or mail it to Geraldine Logue, Director of the ISU Retirees Association, by Friday, June 3rd, so that the website can be updated by June 6th. Today, if you should lose your connection to the ceremony, you will be able to come back into the room using the same Zoom link. I will stay online for a few minutes after we conclude the service if you need to ask for clarification about anything we mentioned here today. Geraldine Logue and Max Porter also will remain online. So now I'd like to invite the Reverend Daishin Eric McCabe, a Soto Zen priest with Zen Fields in Ames, to offer the invocation to begin our service. Reverend.
Thank you so much, Mary, and thank you all for the welcome, allowing me to offer this initial invocation. I appreciated hearing the context and a little bit of the history of this memorial ceremony. Memory, how we use memory is what defines us as a species. We are unique in that we remember our past and the pasts of others in a way that is beyond mere survival, but also evokes emotions, beauty, and wonderment. We're here to remember. Remembering helps us reconnect with a sense of purpose. I would like to begin by remembering the people who lived here before us or our ancestors, the many indigenous peoples and nations who saw what is now the state of Iowa as a fertile land for hunting the hundreds of thousands of buffalo and elk that once trotted where we now see corn and soy. The indigenous tribes like the Iowa, for which our state is named. We remember what preceded these fields of corn and soy, the tall grass prairies, and all of the biodiversity that once comprised the lands we now live on. The word mindfulness in Sanskrit is sati, and it means things remembered. Grief and memory are tied together. How could we grieve if we do not remember? Memory is utilized by all the world's religions, whether it is Muslims reciting the entirety of the Quran by heart, or Christians remembering verses from the New Testament, Jews reciting the Torah in Hebrew, or Hindus reciting the Bhagavad Gita. The Bible is a written text to help us to remember who we are and where we come from. The natural world, if looked at deeply, also holds memory. The land remembers. The Buddha acknowledged the memory of the earth upon his awakening. Scientists, too, acknowledge the role of memory in maintaining life as they share with us their discoveries of DNA within our very cells. Every cell in us contains memory. In the Asian traditions of Taoism and Confucianism, mind is not only in our head, but throughout our physical body, as well as the natural world. The universe herself has memory. The universe remembers all of us. Memory binds all of us together here and now as we use our memory to engage in this memorial service. We now remember all of those who have passed and are being honored during this sacred ceremony, remembering what their lives mean to us and how they may continue to inform us about what really matters. Let's hold 30 seconds of silence that we may collectively invoke our memory. Great. Thank you.
Mary Lynn, you're on mute.
Thank you, Reverend Daishin. We now move on to reading the names of the dearly departed. Max Porter, the 2021 to 22 chair of the ISU Retirees Board of Directors, and I will read the names of our ISU family members who we know have died during the past year. We cover the names in alphabetical order, and the names will be displayed on the screen as we read them. You may go ahead, Max.
Okay. Is the screen up for the names, the slideshow part? There we go. Looks like it's coming up. Okay, now, good morning, everybody. I'll go ahead and begin the names. Heather Allen. Robert Allen. Virginia Allen. Craig Anderson. Dennis Anderson. Jennifer Jen Anderson. Eric Armstrong. Harlan Baker. Robert Bataille. Joseph Baumgarten. Clarine Bettleston. Bernie Beaudry. Catherine Marlene Berlingmeyer. Jean Bishop. Bill Bishop. David Block. Frederick Brown. Catherine Burkholder. Joseph Burris. Jerry Chase. Beth Cheville. Matthew Clark. Barbara Platt. Ron Platt. Betty Colson.
Robert Crabtree. Robert Bob Crom. Aaron Davenport Sr. Alan Davis. Amita Dayal. Edie Demaray. Harold Dilts. Patricia Doak. Forrest Duberke. Kenneth Elvik. Mark Engelbrecht. Phyllis Enquist. Barbara Erickson. Ramona Esbeck. Rebecca Foster. James France. Julie Freed. Merle Frett. Janice Fryer. Evelyn Fuller. Pilar Garcia. Yvonne Gentzler. Doris Goring. Karen Good. David Gradwall. Sally Grevy.
Ronald Grooms. Wilbur Bud Guthrie. Harold Hall. Joyce Hanson. Neil Harrell. Herb Harmison. John Hosfus. John Hauser. Elizabeth Betty Hempy. Joan Herwig. Evelyn Hodges. Carol Horowitz. Donald Hotchkiss. Harold Hyde. Evelyn Jacobson. Mary James. Thomas Johnson. Dennis Jordan. Joy King. Sonia Clocker. Margaret Knox. Lucas Custer. Jan Cruz. William LaGrange. Kenneth Magel. William Marion.
Larry McComber. Lotus Miller. Robert Miller. Robert Bob Mollison. Marjorie Minch. Herbert Jean Myers. Vivian Nelson. Forrest Nutter Jr., Mark Nystrom, Gene Olson, Matt Olson, Paul Overson, Gregory Palermo, Harriet Patterson, Don Pigozzi, Richard Poist, Gerald Jerry Prang, Eraldine Sampson, Kay Sanders, Margaret Schluntz, Carl Seifert, Emmy Shakeshaft, Virginia Slater, Giora Slutsky, Phyllis Smith, J. Glenn Songer,
Larry Spear, Marilyn Spitzig, William Spitzig, Irene Starr, Elizabeth Stapes, James Stephenson, Ronald Swanson, Bill Schweitzer, Carl Tipton, Carla Tollefson, John Tollefson, Dick Tondra, Vanna Tuttle, Kellen Hustad, Philip Vandervoorde, Betty Lou Varnum, Martha Voga, David Wagner Sr., Alice Walters, Marianne Weiss, Marlene Wisenod, Paul Wisenod, Ray Whitmore, Bruce Wildy, David Wilder, Dorothy Williams, Fred Wilson, Charlotte Young, Beverly Zimmerman,
Thank you, Max.
you're welcome.
Geraldine Logue will now recognize those who indicated via chat the desire to provide a tribute to a departed family member, colleague, or friend. And then she will also call on people who emailed or called her that they would like to give a verbal tribute. Geraldine?
Let's start with Kara James. So don't forget to unmute yourself.
Good morning. My sister Heather and I are here remembering our mother, Mary James. And Mom was married to Professor Bill James, who was in the ISU Aerospace Engineering program prior to his death in 2000. Mom was the visionary that started an art gallery here in Ames called From Gifted Hands, which was a wonderful contemporary arts gallery down on Main Street. And it was a wonderful place for us to grow up. It was truly magical being surrounded by all of this beautiful artwork and just the creativity that she emanated and that she advocated for in her life, balanced with my dad, the aerospace engineer, scientist. It was a wonderful combination in which to grow up. And it wasn't just the gallery that was an expression of her artistic soul. It was everything in her life, from the way she would decorate her dining room table when she had company, to the way she dressed, to the artwork all over the house. She just was such a beautiful soul. She really inspired people to look for the beauty in the world, because it's there, and it's there for our taking and our enjoyment. And so until the very end, when she was giving gifts away to all of her friends, when she knew she was going to pass away imminently, she wanted to give others the joy of art and creativity. And so it was an inspiration to us, and we're so thankful we got to be a part of that.
Thank you very much. Jacob Sondar, I'm sorry, Soendke. Jacob. Is Jacob there? Jacob, you need to unmute yourself. There we go. Jacob, for some reason, I can see your microphone is unmuted, but your camera's muted, but your microphone is open. So we will come back to you in just a minute, all right? I'll come back to you. Todd Magel. Don't forget to unmute.
Oh, they're not ready. I think I fixed it.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Jacob. Go right ahead.
All right. Sorry. My apologies if you hear any sniffling. The allergies are kicking my butt today. So, greetings. I am Jacob. I'm Lucas Kester's youngest brother, and I've been asked to speak for our family. I will be reading a piece on behalf of my sister, Carly, that expresses our family sentiments heartfully. The speech reads, I want to thank everyone for joining this Zoom call today, and congratulate those who are retiring and share our condolences for those we have lost. One being my dear brother, Dr. Lucas Kester. Thank you all for taking the time to remember. We truly appreciate you, as I'm sure he did as well. My brother Lucas was a quiet, gentle soul with a humor no one could forget. My memories from growing up with the old school sibling rivalries and the fun we had with the chores, to funny, crazy family portraits and family trips, to fishing all night. The late deep talks, him picking his guitar with us under the night sky on the bed of my husband's truck, and playing a song that he learned listening to a radio or a movie. The joking and laughing with his nieces, Brianna and Isabel, with his voice impressions, to the video calls playing Where'd You Go with my youngest Ileana, who was hiding behind her hands for 15 minutes in her chair giggling away. He was always there for anyone who needed him, without question or judgment. He was like the glue to our family, without any expectations of anything in return, always ready for whatever life had and never complained. We are deeply hurt with this loss. However, this is not a goodbye. You will always be remembered and held in our hearts. This is not a goodbye, but a see you later. We love and miss you dearly. Our mother, Judy, would also wanted me to mention that Lucas died on March 16th, or 3/16. And John 3:16 states, "For God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." We believe this, and so did Lucas. Thank you all for your time, and bless you all.
Thank you, Jacob. We appreciate that. Todd, you're next.
I just want to thank everybody for doing it at Iowa State, and I didn't really have anything to say other than the form that I filled out for the online recognition. So thank you for doing that, and I appreciate all your help.
Thank you, Todd. Next is Mary Milpiper. I apologize if I did not pronounce that correctly. And Mary, you'll need to unmute yourself. And if you're using a PC, it's down on the left-hand side.
But I'd like to say that in case my problem was that it picked the wrong mic for me. And that's
Oh,
why I was
no.
confused. So
Oh,
perhaps
thank you.
if you hit the little arrow next to your mute button, it might pick the right mic, and that might fix your problems.
Thank you, Jacob.
No problem.
So Mary, did that work for you? I think, Mary, what we'll do is I'm going to come back to you. So you can go ahead and get unmuted and I will come right back to you. So let's go to Sherry Opsal, OPSAL. Sherry, you'll need to unmute yourself.
Oh, I didn't really have anything prepared to say. I just put in the chat that that Vanna Tuttle was my sister, but I don't really have any words to say right now. Thank you.
Well, thank you for getting on with us and being here for your sister. We so appreciate your coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let's go to Mike Starr. Mike, are you still here?
Hello. I don't also have anything prepared. It's just my main remembrance. I think my dad was a professor at Iowa State for a number of years, and I remember my my mom typed his thesis back in the old days when there was electric typewriters, and how she got through that without the use of computers is amazing to me. So my mom was there for her family a lot, and she was also a very loyal Iowa State fan. She and my dad went to football games back from when the Cyclones were at the Clyde Williams Field. So thank you.
Mike, for not having prepared statements. That was wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Pat O'Brien, excuse me, Pat Olson and Carla Turner.
Hi, thank you. We as well haven't been prepared to say anything, but thank you for holding this ceremony and inviting us to join. It's a great way to honor not only Matt, but everybody else that passed away this year from Iowa State. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to see if Florine Swanson is on now.
I was prepared to speak, but you may hear the sound in the background that we have. I'm living at Green Hills and they have an emergency that's beeping at us constantly. So it may have stopped. I'll go ahead. I met my husband when he was working for 4-H at the Iowa State Fair, as was I when we were college students. And that, as my grandchildren say, the relationship developed at Iowa State University. And through that, he graduated in 1961, went home to farm in Wright County, and had to wait 3 more years for me to graduate from Iowa State. After that, Iowa State really became a second home for us. We have 3 sons who graduated from Iowa State, and we have, at this point, 6 of our 9 grandchildren graduated from Iowa State, another one starting this fall. A few years ago, we were the Cyclone Family of the Year, which we take great pride in as well. And Ron was a man of great faith, put forth many activities in agriculture and including advisory committees here at Iowa State University, even though he wasn't on the faculty. And he was always the person behind me to make sure I was successful in whatever I did, which included working for Women in Science and Engineering and the Iowa 4-H Foundation Executive Director. We were blessed to have him in our life. And my son Kendall is on. I don't know if he wants to say a word about his dad.
Kendall, you're welcome to jump in.
Maybe not.
Okay, well, he can come back in later if he doesn't get in now. Okay, let's go to Carol Majoltin.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to say a few words about Joan. Joan and I shared a home for 17 years, and during that time, I really got to know Iowa State University. And her love for this university is just unbelievable. And every day, I think she had something that she needed to share about Iowa State and her experiences that she had while at Iowa State. She loved especially recalling her adventures when she was director of the Child Development Lab School from 1993 to 2002. And I have seen many pictures of her, photographs that were taken with the hard hat on her head when the Palmer building was being constructed, because the lab school was going to be moved over to that building. So that was always interesting to hear about what was going on and what was happening. One of her many special delights was working with the domestic and international graduate students as their major professor and advisor. She kept in contact with many of these, especially international students, for years after she retired in 2003 and up until she passed away. So I even got to meet some of those people and know them. So she will be long remembered for her organization and leadership skills. I mean, I've heard that from many, many people, and I experienced it myself. Her laughter and her smile, they were very contagious, and she will be greatly missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Joan was such a delightful, wonderful, kind person. Thank you so much for saying words about her.
Brenda Hoffman, you're next on my list.
Hi, yes, I would like to speak about my father, Ken Elvik. He was a professor in the accounting department for many, many years at Iowa State, and was known for his help with students who are still learning the English language or struggling with the English language. And he will be remembered for many of them for helping them along their way so much. He was an amazing husband, a generous father and grandfather, went to countless activities of his grandson. He was an avid outdoorsman who taught me a love for conservation and nature. And my mom, Donna Elvik, would like me to share a little bit too, that he was very fond of his family that was still in Norway. And our family took several trips to spend time with them and learn more about our heritage back in Norway. He was a huge Iowa State fan and had attended football games for over 30 years in the same seats. He is very much loved and very much missed. Thank you so much for doing this for everyone.
Thank you, Brenda. We appreciate it. Steve Hampton, I have you next on my list.
Can you hear me?
We can.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Alumni Association and compliment them on this event. I was really shocked when I received the letter, and I think it's a terrific remembrance of many people who have lives that pass through Iowa State. I'm going to talk about Yvonne Gentzler. Yvonne was a friend and my companion for 14 years. Her academic career started at Penn State, where she got her master's and PhD. She taught at Penn State, University of Maryland, University of Idaho, Iowa State, and the University of Minnesota. And during our years, we reflected a lot on both of our careers, and I can say with certainty that the happiest time in her life was when she lived in Ames and taught at Iowa State. When she was there serving on the faculty, she founded the Family and Consumer Sciences Leadership Academy, which helped numerous doctoral candidates from around the country obtain their doctorates. And I was always amazed at the sisterhood that organization created as people constantly kept in touch with each other. She was also very involved with Sigma Phi Epsilon fraternity. She was named their first national fellow for residential learning, and she continued to serve the fraternity nationwide by setting up programs at Sigma Phi Epsilon chapters throughout the country. After she retired from teaching from Minnesota, she developed and conducted a leadership program for chapter leaders for 4 years. And she is also is establishing a leadership award for graduating seniors at SIGEP at Iowa State that'll be funded from her estate. Yvonne was a fantastic person. I know several people on the participant list knew her and loved her as I did. And again, I thank you for the opportunity to remember Yvonne at this event. Thanks.
Thank you, Steve. And Virginia would also like to speak about Yvonne.
I was one of her peers at Penn State in graduate school, and that was such a wonderful experience. The faculty really created sort of a family support environment. And then we would get together every time we went to a conference. There'd be a Penn State evening dinner, and we would enjoy each other's company. And Yvonne was a really good thinker, and some of her publications are being used today in terms of their conceptual value and sort of philosophical perspective. And then when she started the academy for at Iowa State for teacher educators in a doctoral program, she asked me to teach the foundations course. And I really enjoyed doing that and appreciated the opportunity to do that, and sort of kept in touch and saw her last summer? yeah, I think not long before she passed, and it was a nice sort of reunion again. So thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. Rebecca Abbott.
Yes, thank you. I would like to speak on behalf of Vanna Tuttle, and I just want to echo what the previous gentleman said, just about how what a great ceremony this is for remembering our loved ones that have passed. Vanna was in 4-H for about 10 years, from the time she was 9 or 10 until she graduated from high school. So it was apropos that when she started at Iowa State and joined the Iowa State family, that she started in the extension service and then later moved on to the vet path lab, where she worked and enjoyed her work there. We miss her greatly, but we just wanted to let people know that she learned her 4-H lessons well and was very famous for her sugar cookies that she gave to many friends and family over the years. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be part of this today.
Thank you for sharing. Holly?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Holly.
I want to talk about my mom. Pretty you Panham. She was the best mom. She had 8 kids, so the house of the magic window. She was a mother for helping kids learn how to make stuff. And she did some stuff for people with disabilities. My mom had made my life she loved me. Along with my brother and my sister. She worked for WRITP in Ames. That's where she met my dad, James M. Farnham. He worked for ISU too. He worked for cohorts of seniors. He taught classes for seniors. And my mom's kids saw House of the Magic Window. That's where my dad met my mom.
Holly, thank you so much for sharing. I remember your mom on the House with the Magic Window. I grew up with that. So Thank you for sharing so much about her. She was a big part of my life. Thank you.
That means a lot.
And thank you, Holly. Good to see you. This is Jeff Johnson. Love you.
I love you too, Jeff.
So now you've all seen it's not hard to say a few words. So is there anybody else who would like to say something? Feel free. Just unmute your microphone. Shout out.
Hello, this is Marcela Roberts. Both of my parents worked for Iowa State. My dad actually came to Iowa State as he worked in central stores. He was hired before he graduated from high school, and he was there for 42 years. And he ended up working at he worked at the old Clyde football field and the old state gym, and graduated clear up to working at the Iowa State Center for probably from the time it opened. And until he died, he kept telling people that he retired from Iowa State, and he really enjoyed his work there, that he worked at the Iowa State Center, and the biggest thing that we remember is he kind of tried swimming in the Hilton Coliseum when it was flooded. Not on purpose, but some of those in remembering. And my mother, Barbara Platt, she started working for Iowa State after all of us kids graduated from high school. She was a stay-at-home mom and the greatest mom we had. And she got into the Sheeman building, and she loved working with the students and doing the room setups for people. And she again tackled the 93 flood, coming when they kept telling her she had to stop, the roads were closed, and she says, "I'm sorry, I have to go get the computers up off the ground floor. Everything will be destroyed." So they had a lot of dedication to Iowa State. And my sister and I worked there for our 42 years too. And it's a place to be remembered. And our parents kind of installed that work ethic, and they're going to be missed.
Thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else?
Yes, I'm Dan Beaudry. Bernard Joseph Beaudry is my father, and I'm a proud ISU alum. He was the youngest of 9 children raised on a farm in rural Minnesota without plumbing, electricity, or even running water. He learned the value of hard work and education, and he became the first in his family to get an advanced degree when he got his master's in metallurgy from Iowa State University. He made Ames his home, marrying our mother, Charlotte, raising 7 kids, and having a distinguished 38-year career at the Ames lab, specializing in the study of rare earth metals, publishing hundreds of papers and traveling all the world, sharing his knowledge and expertise. But his true legacy was his focus on the twin pillars of his faith and his family, the two things that were just inseparable. All 7 children, we have fond memories of our family trips, regularly visiting our grandparents and extended family in Minnesota and Oklahoma, loading up the one station wagon with all 9 of us, an occasional dog and a cat, just to add to the wonderful chaos. There's always taking time to pray the rosary together, because a family that prays together stays together. He was active in his church at St. Cecilia's of the Ames. Even after his retirement, he was involved in the Knights of Columbus, their Tootsie Roll drives outside of Jack Trice Stadium. He was a hugger at the finish line of the Special Olympics, and he was eventually named the Iowa Volunteer of the Year by our governor. He was blessed with 20 grandchildren and made attending all their baptisms and confirmations a priority, traveling literally coast to coast to financially support all of his grandchildren in their higher education. And he would just astonish us all with his being able to remember all their birthdays, even well into his 90s. When our mother passed away in 2008, he showed that even in your 80s, that love is ageless. He fell in love with Pat D'Entremont of Florence, Arizona, and together they created a wonderful and truly inspiring love story. They were daily Mass participants and actively attending their grandchildren's baseball, swimming matches, and all their volleyball tournaments. The generous man had ready jokes, a warm and inviting, a genuine smile. Most everyone who'd meet him would probably consider him a friend, a really good man. However, it was his bond to his 7 children and his 20 grandchildren and 13 great-grandchildren that was exceptionally close. It made all of us feel so loved, supported, and important that each of us felt, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we were his favorite. As I close this memorial for him, I'm just here to state for the record who really was his favorite. Miss you, Dad. Rest well. Good and faithful servant.
Thank you, Dan. For some reason, I just knew that you were going to be the favorite. Just knew it. Look at my house. I'm the favorite. Okay. Anybody else?
Dan, I might add to that just a little bit. I knew Bernie pretty well. He and I shared a locker aisle together. We visited very, very frequently at the gym back in the days when we were able to go there in person. He was great. He also did the Meals on Wheels for quite a while. And
Yeah,
that one you
too
didn't have in
much
the
to
story.
mention. Thank you so much, Max. That means a lot. He played racquetball well beyond his retirement, and he was legendary. People would just talk about him beating much younger people. None of us in our family could compete with him. He was great man. Thank you much,
Well,
Max.
let's put it this way. He and I played a lot of racquetball together. Yeah,
Wonderful. Thank you.
great fellow colleague.
Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Laura Miller, and I would like to remember Heather Allen. She was a brilliant scientist and a bright light that we lost. Our daughter-in-law and godmother had such a brilliant mind, and she also was such a good writer. She told her story of her 10-year battle with cancer in a blog, Some Girls Prefer Carnations. And she brought that brilliant mind into her treatment and brilliant writing. But I miss her. Even though I didn't know her very well, I think of her often. And she was gone from our lives much too soon. And my heart goes out to her family as they remember her life and that she's no longer with them.
Laura, could you say the person's name again? Your bandwidth was a little low. We didn't hear who you were talking about for sure.
Heather Allen.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else?
Can I say?
Do you want to say something else, Holly? You're muted now. Why don't you unmute yourself? There you go.
My mom had the longest running kids show in history for 44 years. She made kids so happy and they race home from school and make stuff. My mom was loved by kids and adults too. She's going to be remembered as the woman from the House of the Magic Window.
Well, Holly, I want to thank you for sharing your mom with all of us as we were growing up and watched The House with the Magic Window. So thank you for sharing her with us. We appreciate that.
And my please remember my dad too.
Mhm.
He used to work for ISU too.
Well, thank you.
That's all.
Okay, thank you, Holly. Anybody else have anything? Mary, do you want to get back on? I don't think we actually had you on. I see you're here for your husband and for Irene Starr. I can't remember if you talked yet or not, Mary. You want to unmute your microphone and say a couple words? Well, what you put in the chat was greetings from Mary. And my husband, I'm here for Irene Starr. Sherry Opsel, would you like to say a few words? No, okay. I think we maybe got it right. Just a sec here. I gotta go down the bottom of my messages. You all are doing such a great job here. Sybil left a message and said, thank you for hosting this event today. My aunt, Dr. Yvonne Gentzler, thought of her colleagues and friends at ISU as family and spoke of Ames as if it were home. I have fond memories of visiting her there. Thank you, Sybil. Thanks for sharing. I just want to say a couple words about Karen Good. Karen was an assistant for me, and she was one of those individuals a few years back who helped put this program together and took in all the obituaries and put them all together. So I'd like to remember Karen Good. And she was an awesome quilter. So anybody else? Okay. Well, I'm going to turn this back to Mary Lynn. And thank you all so much for sharing. Somebody asked a question about the PowerPoint. If that's something you're interested in, you can send me an email or put something in the chat and we can talk about that. So thank you. Mary Lynn, it's all yours.
Is there anyone else who would like to say a few words?
Where could I get it?
Blake, did you want to say something?
Yeah, it's not Blake, but it's me.
Okay.
Teresa Whitmore, I'm Ray's wife, and I just wanted to say that Ray loved working for Iowa State. He worked in the dairy science division, and he had so many stories about all of his coworkers and the fun that they had at different times when they would get together outside of work. And he also loved Iowa State. He always wore his hat and he always wore his Iowa State jackets or whatever, and couldn't tell enough people that he loved Iowa State. And it was always fun for him to, he didn't get to go to a lot of games, but he sure watched them on TV and kept in touch with several of his coworkers that he worked with at Iowa State. He went from there. He also taught vocational agriculture at BMG at Brooklyn, and also at Rumson, Iowa at the, it was then Marcus, well, now it's Marcus Merritt and Cleghorn, but it was RU at that time. And I think I just went off.
We can still hear you.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I just wanted, he just passed away this last April, and we all miss him terribly. But I'm sorry, I can't say anymore.
There's nothing to be sorry about. Thank you for sharing with us. We appreciate it.
I didn't want to do that.
Okay, anybody else? Let's see here. The Sinclair said, even though a UNI graduate, Doris Goring loved ISU. Miss you, Mom.
Yes, she did. We miss Doris. Steve, I wanted to say thank you for sharing Yvonne with us. She's very special. And I listed a few names in the chat of some of my colleagues that are on here today. Jerry Chase, Mark Engelbrecht, Pilar Garcia, Doris Goring, David Gradwell, John Hauser, Joan Herwig, Carol Horowitz, miss her writings in the paper on Saturdays. Joy King, Bill LaGrange, Larry McComber, Greg Palermo, best dresser in town. Well, I guess I could put him and Bill LaGrange as the best two dressers in town. Kay Sanders and Ron Swanson. Wonderful, wonderful colleagues.
And I might recognize Cara and Heather James. Respect to being on. Appreciate your comments about Mary James. I knew her fairly well over the years, and I knew Bill James. Bill James had an office just a couple doors from my office over in Town Engineering when he was in the Aerospace Engineering Department. And your mother had me out to inspect her place for various and sundry type of issues with respect to house and drainage, et cetera. So, and she also went to our church, and she was always one to recognize anybody if they had an illness of any kind or any kind of a mishap or whatever. She always sent them a card. She did great. Thanks for sharing.
And her shop, the Gifted Hands, was quite a gift to the community. I very much miss that place. Yes. Is there anyone else, anyone who might have called or emailed who we may have missed to ask you to say a few words?
And Jeff, good comments about Gregory Palermo. I know what you mean. And about Bill LaGrange as well. Bill LaGrange taught me how to be a timer back in the old days, the big 8 track championships, that type of thing. I was one of his timers for Bill way back then. He taught me how to run a stopwatch correctly.
And I'd like to mention Bill Schweitzer. He and his wife Irene were neighbors of mine back in the 1990s before they moved to Green Hills. And Bill was an incredibly sharp, intelligent man, and a wonderful scholar, but also a very kind person. He and Irene were the best neighbors anyone could ever have. So I miss him dearly. Is there anyone else who would like to mention someone? All right, if that's all, thank you all so much for your special and endearing tributes. It's always the most moving and valuable part of the ceremony. So in closing, I have a few more things to let you know before the closing benediction. I especially wish to thank the following people for their assistance today: Dr. Jeff Johnson, Reverend Daishin Eric McCabe, who we'll hear from again in a few minutes for his closing benediction, the ISU President's Office for their support, the individuals who wrote and spoke tributes today, the ISU Retirees Association Memorial Day Committee, Green Hills Retirement Committee, Pete Lawler with the ISU Horticultural Department for the flower boxes that we distributed at the ISU Cemetery. He always makes such nice arrangements for us. And last but very importantly, Geraldine Lowe, right here, without whom this event would not have been coordinated. She is essential for pulling together the beautiful service you have experienced today. And we thank her husband, Tom, also for his endurance of endless enlistment for helping with this event too. I also want to mention that for the last 40 years, I have participated several times in this ceremony or have helped in writing tributes to honor colleagues who have passed away. I've always found myself deeply impacted by the ceremonies. These are important events that continue to remind me of the valuable people who make up the family of Iowa State University. I thank the university for continuing to support this impressive event. And now, one final reminder, if you have not sent your tribute to Geraldine, yet to be included on the ISU Retirees Association Memorial Day website, you may still do so. Please remember that Geraldine needs to receive those this week by Friday, June 3rd. Finally, after the benediction, you are welcome to stay online and visit with others or ask any questions you have of Geraldine, Max, or me. We are happy to talk with you. And now, Reverend Daishin.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you for it's just such an honor and to be a part of this outpouring of love, to hear it from all of you, the slideshow, but also your comments about your loved ones. It's just such an important thing to remember those that have passed. So in closing, what is this life? What happens when we die? When a loved one dies, we may ask these questions and we may feel a whole range of conflicting emotions, from anger to sadness, from despair to deep confidence in life, from loneliness to love. This life is truly like a dream. When someone we love passes away, it reminds us of our own transitory nature and how much things change, how short and precious this life is. What is this life? How did we come here? Where are we going? The point is not to answer these questions, but to use them to enter into the utter mystery of it all. I'd like to close with a poem from Rilke's Book of Hours, Love Poems to God, translated by Joanna Macy and Anita Barrows. Rilke writes, I live my life in widening circles that reach out across the world. I may not complete this last one, but I give myself to it. I circle around God, around the primordial tower. I've been circling for thousands of years, and I still don't know, am I a falcon, a storm, or a great song? Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Daishin, for those insightful and beautiful thoughts. And thank you all so much for joining us for this important day. We hope you have a good Memorial Day, and now stay a bit and chat if you would like to. Thanks again for making this event a great time. Thank you.